I met Rud because Rud was he moved into Astoria Projects where I lived at the time, and we played football together. He lived up on the second floor, same building. We played football together, and then what ended up happening is one day his mother bought him some DJ equipment. You know what I mean? And he started DJing, and I started rapping, and that was it. You know, it became one of those things. Funny story is that Rud actually went to the studio with Paul C and recorded a track, right? And the track was dope. But we were more so, and I would say I was more so impressed by the quality of work. So I remember when I wrote "Do to James," I had one of those cassette decks. So I took the track "Impeach the President," Honey Drippers, and I went there, and I just took it and I looped it up with the cassette deck. I mean, sitting there for hours to get 5 minutes out of it. You know what I mean? Man, so, and I actually had a Panasonic. It was a Panasonic set that had 8-track, it had an 8-track on it,
wow,
a cassette deck on it, and, it had an 8-track and a phonograph. We had a auxiliary input for the cassette. So I had the Honey Drippers track, and that's how I actually looped it up. So I looped it up on the cassette, and I carried the thing with me everywhere. So every little hoopie I had, I popped it in, and I wrote that song in about 3 months. And believe me, 3 months, because "Do to James" has been written over and over and over again, which means some things I didn't like or felt didn't fit or this line didn't jive with the next one. You know, there was a lot of what they say in the movie industry, cut tape.
Right.
So it was a lot of cut tape on "Do to James." So it had to be perfect, and that was the perfect. The end results, what you guys hear, was perfect. So moving on with that story. So wrote the song, had it for a while.
Wow.
Even when I was in the competition with the at the United States of America, rap competition, "Do to James" was already being written, and then some of the stuff from the competition ended up being in it, and some wasn't. But that's not what we used at the competition to make it in. Some of the cool stuff is a lot of what was used at the competition was actually on the song that we did with Paul C called "I Got a Good Thing." You know what I mean? So that's just some insider shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so some insider shit. A lot of stuff that we did at that competition was used on "I Got a Good Thing."
Wow.
So the whole rap thing to me was trivial, I would say. It wasn't hard for me to make a song. I remember the first time it came out, everybody said, "Oh man, that's why we say that line, They said I was a one-record man." You know what I'm saying? Well, that's what somebody said. Oh, yeah. One-hit wonder. That's what they said. You know what I'm saying? This guy was a one-hit wonder. Well, this stuff is not hard for me to do at all. I haven't made a track recently that's called "Too Easy." I just think it's too easy. As a Girls, I Got a Lot. One of the things that I do regret is when too many people have control over what you're doing. Because that was one of the worst videos. Everybody had better videos than what we had.
Right.
And I couldn't understand why our video was what it was, and based on budget and this and that, that's because someone else was controlling the money.
Yeah.
So.
Do you feel yourself like a perfectionist? Because to me, that video was already when as a fan point, right? When you first get introduced to an artist, you're already in. I understand, if you was a perfectionist, you'd be like, damn, we could have did that better. But for us to see that come out, we was already on, "Do the James," right? We was already locked in. But I think all you had to do is just follow that.
I think it was the music. People were locked into the music, right?
Right.
So, and it was interesting, man. You know what I did right before that record came out? I worked for New York City. I worked for the city. I was a groundskeeper for the housing project, right? I was a seasonal worker, and we did all this stuff. We made the records, and I remember DNA. We was going doing in stores and everything. We're out there doing all this stuff, man. And one day I get a call from DNA, and he says, "Look, you guys, they're calling about you. I said, what do you mean they're calling about us, man? And I'm mowing the lawn, and I get this phone call from him. And then I remember walking by. I was working at Ravenswood Housing, which is one housing down between Queensbridge and Astoria.
Right, Ravenwood. That's Davies just came out of there.
Right. So I'm in Ravenswood, man, and they had like what they call the ground floor. Right. So I'm mowing the lawn, man, and I never knew who this person was, but I'm walking by, and all I hear is a world premiere. And I think what the young lady did was she actually. Now, I didn't hear it. I partied the night before. I didn't know anything about that, it being on the radio. Mr. Magic, Molly Marr, man, next thing there was a world premiere, and I'm listening to the cassette. I guess she recorded it on cassette.
Right.
And I'm sitting there tripping because I'm like, I hear,
yeah.
I'm like, oh, shit. Oh, shit.
That's my rhythm. That's my shit right there.
That's my record. And the girl comes to the window, right? And I never know to the day who this woman was, but she comes to the window and she says, what? I said, that's my record. Now, I'm the groundskeeper. I got a lawnmower on my hand. And she's looking at me like, what? I'm like, that's my record. She probably thought maybe that was my favorite record and I liked it or whatever. She had no idea that was me who created the record. That was officially me. So then, at the end of the season, just before the end of the season, I found out that I was chosen to be hired on to work for the city. But at the same time, I get a phone call. This happened. This is how life works. Simultaneously,